Dear listeners, a new day and a new story to discuss. Today, I'm going to tell you a story that interests me. Listen and write down what you think about this situation. I'm interested in your opinions. Life, they say, is a theater, and we are merely players. I never truly grasped the depth of these words until that fateful evening when my life took a dramatic turn. I remember it as if it were yesterday, the crisp Californian air tinged with the scent of eucalyptus as I made my way home. My name is Alexander, a regular Joe, living a life not unlike many others. Subscribed to Life Chronicles, I often muttered under my breath, rehearsing my opening line for my next video blog. I found solace in sharing my life's mundane tales, not knowing that soon I would have a story that would eclipse all others. My footsteps echoed on the pavement, a rhythmic reminder of my life's monotonous routine. College, work, marriage, it all seemed like a script I followed without question. But that evening, as I turned the key in my front door, I was unwittingly stepping onto a stage set for drama. Alexander, is that you? Lily's voice, usually a soothing melody, had a sharp edge to it that night. Yeah, it's me, I called out, hanging my coat. The house felt different, charged with an undercurrent of tension that sent a shiver down my spine. In the living room, my twin boys, Adam and Lucas, were the embodiment of contrast, one with a book in hand, contemplative and serene, the other, a ball of energy, bouncing off the walls. Their differences, often a source of pride, were tonight a prelude to conflict. Dad, tell Lucas to give it a rest. He's been hogging the computer all day, Adam complained, his voice a blend of frustration and exhaustion. Lucas retorted, oh, please. Mister, I only read books suddenly cares about the computer. Their bickering escalated, words like daggers, slicing the calm of our household. I felt a headache brewing, a storm in my temples. Enough, I shouted, my voice booming louder than I intended. The room fell silent, the boys' eyes wide with surprise. I'm tired of this constant fighting. Your brothers, for heaven's sake. Lily emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. Alexander, what's all this shouting about? Her eyes darted between me and the boys, a silent demand for an explanation. It's this never-ending quarrel over the computer, I sighed, running a hand through my hair. And why is it in the garage now? Lily's tone was accusatory, her arms crossed. I needed them to understand the value of sharing in peace, I stammered, feeling her gaze piercing through me. By locking away the computer? That's your solution. Lily's voice rose, her frustration mirroring my own. The boys watched, wide-eyed, as Lily and I stood in an impromptu arena of domestic disagreement. They need to learn to get along, Lily, I argued, my voice firm yet weary. And they will learn by being deprived? By punishment. Lily countered, her words laced with disbelief. A silence fell upon us, heavy and uncomfortable. I glanced at the boys, their faces a mix of confusion and guilt. Turning to Lily, I said, let's talk about this later, hoping to end the evening's drama. But the night was far from over. As I retreated to my makeshift studio to record another entry for Life Chronicles, I couldn't shake the feeling that our family script was being rewritten, and I, the unwitting protagonist, was about to face a series of unforeseen twists. In my studio, surrounded by the familiar clutter of my hobby, I pressed record and began. Hi, subscribe to Life Chronicles so you don't miss new stories. Our whole life is a theater, and the people in it are actors. Little did I know, the story I was about to live would be my most dramatic yet. The morning sun cast a warm glow over our small California town, its rays peeking through the blinds and announcing the start of another day in the life of Alexander. That's me. The tranquility of the morning was a stark contrast to the previous night's tensions. I made my way to the kitchen, still replaying the arguments with the boys and Lily in my mind. As I poured coffee, the sound of footsteps indicated the arrival of my twin sons, Adam and Lucas. The air was still thick with the residue of last night's quarrel. Adam, the more reserved of the two, took a seat quietly at the table, his eyes fixed on the cereal box in front of him. Lucas, ever the boisterous one, followed suit, albeit with a noticeable scowl. Morning, Dad, Adam muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. Morning, Lucas, I greeted, hoping to break the ice. Lucas grunted in response, his focus on pouring milk over his cereal with more force than necessary. The silence was deafening. I knew I had to address the elephant in the room. Look, about last night. I began, but was interrupted by Lily's entrance. Good morning, everyone, she said cheerfully, perhaps a tad too cheerfully, in an attempt to lighten the mood. Morning pleasantries were exchanged, but the tension hung in the air like a thick fog. Lily shot me a look, a silent plea to resolve the situation. Boys, your dad and I didn't mean to upset you, Lily started, her tone soft yet firm. We just want what's best for you both. Adam finally spoke up. It's just not fair, Mom. Lucas is always on the computer, and when I need it, he throws a fit. Lucas fired back. That's because you never use it. You're always reading or doing whatever. Now you want it just because I have it. Their voices rose in unison, a cacophony of grievances that had been simmering beneath the surface. I raised my hands, signaling them to calm down. Enough, I said, my voice steady. We're a family. We need to find a way to share and respect each other's space. The discussion turned into a negotiation, with Lily and I mediating between the boys. It was decided that they would have designated times for computer use, and to ensure fairness, I would keep track of their schedules. The resolution seemed to appease them for the moment, but I couldn't shake the feeling that this was just a temporary fix. The differences between Adam and Lucas were not just about the computer. They were deeper, rooted in their personalities and growing individuality. As the day progressed, I found myself observing them more closely. Adam, with his quiet demeanor, lost in books and thoughts, and Lucas, always seeking action and attention. Their interactions were a dance of contrasting rhythms, fascinating yet fraught with the potential for discord. In the midst of this, Lily seemed preoccupied with her own thoughts. Her subtle glances and long sighs did not go unnoticed. I could tell something was weighing on her mind, but she remained tight-lipped. The atmosphere in the house was like a taut string, ready to snap at the slightest provocation. That evening, as I sat in my favorite chair, the events of the day replaying in my head, I realized that our family was at a crossroads. The twins, each grappling with their own identities, were pulling away from the harmony we once had. And Lily, with her unspoken worries, added another layer of complexity to our family dynamic. As I pondered over these thoughts, the familiar sound of the computer keyboard echoed from the boys' room, followed by a sudden outburst. I took a deep breath, bracing myself for another round of mediation. In our little theater of life, the drama was far from over, and I, Alexander, was both a participant and a witness to the unfolding story. The California sun had barely crept above the horizon, casting a soft, golden hue over our modest home. As Alexander, a man accustomed to the regular drumbeat of a simple life, I awoke to the sounds of a household stirring, a symphony of the mundane, yet today it carried an undercurrent of discord. I shuffled into the kitchen, the aroma of brewing coffee a brief respite from the lingering tensions. Lily was already there, her back to me, engrossed in her phone. The air was thick with unspoken words, the residue of last night's unresolved disputes. Morning, I mumbled, reaching for a mug. Lily turned, her expression a complex tapestry of fatigue and concern. Morning. Sleep well. Her voice was tinged with a note of sarcasm. Like a log, I replied, the lie as bitter as the coffee I poured. The boys entered, their demeanor mirroring our own, a family united in silent turmoil. Breakfast was a quiet affair, the clinking of cutlery replacing conversation. As the day progressed, the house felt smaller, each of us navigating around each other like planets in a delicate orbit. Adam retreated to his books, Lucas to his phone, while Lily busied herself with chores, her movements sharp and deliberate. I decided to break the ice. Lily, about last night, I think we should talk. I ventured cautiously. She stopped, a sigh escaping her lips. Not now, Alexander. I have a lot on my mind. But we need to address this, I insisted, my voice a mix of frustration and concern. What's there to address? You think you solved everything by setting rules for the boys? It's not just about them. Lily's voice rose, her words slicing through the air. I was taken aback. What do you mean? She turned, her eyes blazing with a mixture of anger and desperation. It's about us, Alexander. About this life we're living. We're stuck in this routine, barely making ends meet. I want more. We need more. Her words struck a chord, igniting a fire within me. You think I don't know that? You think I'm not trying? My voice grew louder, echoing off the walls. The boys, alerted by our raised voices, appeared at the doorway, their eyes wide with uncertainty. Mom, Dad, what's going on? Adam asked, his voice trembling. It's nothing, boys. Go back to your room, I said, trying to regain composure. But Lucas wouldn't budge. Why are you always fighting about money? Can't we just be happy with what we have? His question hung in the air, a poignant reminder of the innocence we were tainting with our adult worries. Lily softened, her anger dissipating. We're okay, boys. Just grown-up stuff. Go on, we'll talk later. As the boys hesitantly retreated, I turned to Lily, my anger subsiding. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have exploded like that, she interjected, her eyes brimming with unshed tears. We stood there, in the heart of our home, a couple grappling with the realities of life, the weight of our responsibilities, and the dreams we once had. The rest of the day passed in a blur of routine tasks, each of us lost in our thoughts. I couldn't shake off Lily's words. She was right, we were stuck in a rut, our lives a never-ending loop of work and bills, with little room for anything else. That evening, as I sat in my chair, a novel in hand, the words blurred before my eyes. My mind wandered to our financial struggles, the desires unmet, the dreams deferred. The novel, once a source of escape, now felt like a mocking reminder of a life unfulfilled. I set the book aside, my thoughts drifting to a plan, a way out of this financial maze. But the solution eluded me like a shadow just beyond my grasp. As the night deepened, the silence of the house weighed heavily on me, a stark reminder of the frictions and strains within our family, a tapestry frayed at the edges, yet holding together, for now. Dawn broke over our small Californian town, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. As Alexander, I often found solace in these quiet moments before the world awoke. But this morning, my mind was a whirlwind of thoughts, plagued by the unsettling changes in our household. I wandered into the kitchen, where the usual morning routine unfolded. Lily was already there, her eyes hidden behind a newspaper, an unusual occurrence that didn't escape my notice. Morning, I greeted, trying to sound casual. Lily lowered the paper, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Morning, Alexander. Coffee. I nodded, watching her movements, which seemed more deliberate than usual. She poured the coffee, her gaze drifting somewhere far away. The boys entered, their usual banter replaced with an uncomfortable silence. Breakfast was a subdued affair, with everyone lost in their thoughts. After breakfast, I found myself in the garage, tinkering with some old tools, when Lily entered. Her sudden presence startled me. Alexander, can we talk? She asked, her voice hesitant. I put down the wrench, my curiosity piqued. Of course. What's on your mind? Lily took a deep breath. I've been thinking about our financial situation. I feel like I need to do more, contribute more. Her words took me by surprise. Lily, you're already doing so much. She shook her head. No, it's not enough. I want to help, maybe find a part-time job. I was about to protest, but the determination in her eyes stopped me. Okay, if that's what you want. But don't overwork yourself. She nodded, a faint smile on her lips, and left the garage. The rest of the day was a blur of activities, each of us absorbed in our own worlds. I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was amiss. Lily seemed more distant, her mind always elsewhere. That evening, I decided to take a walk, needing some air to clear my head. As I strolled through our neighborhood, lost in thought, I noticed Lily's car parked outside a quaint cafe. Curiosity getting the better of me, I approached the window and peered inside. There she was, sitting across from a man I didn't recognize. They were deep in conversation, their heads bent close together. A pang of something, jealousy, suspicion, surged through me. I stepped back, my mind racing with questions. Who was this man? What were they talking about? I walked home, my thoughts a tangled mess. The following days were filled with more such incidents. Lily, once open and talkative, became secretive, her phone always by her side. Whispered phone calls, late-night texts, the signs were all there, pointing to something or someone new in her life. One evening, as I lay in bed, unable to sleep, I heard the front door open and close quietly. Glancing at the clock, I noted it was past midnight. I got up and walked to the living room, just as Lily was slipping off her shoes. Late night? I asked, trying to keep my voice even. Lily jumped, startled. Oh, you're awake. Yes, just had some things to take care of. Everything okay? I pressed, searching her face for clues. Yes, just some work stuff. You know, the part-time job, she replied, avoiding my gaze. I wanted to believe her, but the doubt had already planted its seeds. As she headed to bed, I stood there, alone in the dark living room, the silence echoing my troubled thoughts. The next day, I decided to confront her. Lily, we need to talk about these late nights and secret meetings. She tensed, her expression guarded. There's nothing to talk about, Alexander. I'm just trying to help out. But why all the secrecy? Why not just tell me? Lily's eyes flashed with anger. Because I knew you'd react like this. Can I have some space, some independence? Her words stung, and I recoiled, the gap between us widening. The conversation ended there, but the questions remained, gnawing at me. As the days passed, the atmosphere in our home grew heavier, the tension palpable. Lily's mysterious behavior continued, and with each secretive phone call, each unexplained absence, my suspicion grew. In the midst of this, the boys seemed to sense the growing rift. Adam became more withdrawn, his books a refuge from the family drama. Lucas, on the other hand, grew more agitated, his usual energy now tinged with frustration. One evening, as I sat trying to read, the sound of raised voices caught my attention. I rushed to the boys' room to find them in the midst of a heated argument. "What's going on here?" I demanded, my own frustrations boiling over. "It's none of your business." Lucas shot back, his face red with anger. "Lucas." I was taken aback by his defiance. Adam intervened. "Dad, it's okay. We'll sort it out." I stood there, feeling helpless, a stranger in my own home. The family I once knew seemed to be unraveling before my eyes, and I, Alexander, felt powerless to stop it. The Californian sun cast long shadows across the living room as I, Alexander, sat in my usual chair, engulfed in turmoil. The home that once resonated with laughter and chatter now echoed with the sound of silence and secrets. Lily's mysterious behavior had become the center of my world, a puzzle I was desperate to solve. One afternoon, as the house lay quiet, I decided to seek answers. I crept into our bedroom, my heart pounding, and gingerly picked up Lily's phone. It felt like a betrayal, yet the need for truth drove me forward. Scrolling through her messages, I stumbled upon a thread that made my blood run cold. "Can't wait to see you tonight," read a message from a number not saved in her contacts. A noise at the door startled me, and I quickly put the phone back, my mind racing. That evening, as we sat at dinner, the tension was palpable. The boys, sensing the strained atmosphere, ate in silence. "Lily, we need to talk," I said, my voice steady despite the storm brewing inside me. She looked up, her eyes wary. "About what, Alexander?" "About the messages I saw on your phone. Who are you meeting tonight?" The color drained from her face. "You went through my phone?" Her voice was a mix of shock and anger. "Yes, I did. And I want to know who you're meeting," I pressed, my gaze unflinching. Lily's eyes darted to the boys, then back to me. "It's nothing, just a friend from work." "A friend you can't wait to see?" I couldn't keep the sarcasm from my voice. "It's not what you think, Alexander," she said, her voice rising. The boys looked on, wide-eyed. "Mom, Dad, what's going on?" Adam asked, his voice trembling. "Nothing, boys." "Finish your dinner," I said, trying to maintain a semblance of normalcy. After dinner, Lily and I retreated to our room, the air thick with unspoken accusations. "Lily, I need the truth. Are you seeing someone else?" Her eyes filled with tears. "No, Alexander, it's not like that. I'm just trying to find a way to help out financially. This friend has connections, and he's been advising me." I wanted to believe her, but doubt had taken root in my mind. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I knew you wouldn't understand. You'd think exactly what you're thinking now." We lay in bed that night, a chasm of mistrust between us. The following days were a blur of half-hearted conversations and unspoken questions. Lily's late nights continued, and with each passing day, my suspicion grew. Then, one fateful evening, I decided to follow her. I watched from a distance as she entered a fancy restaurant. Waiting outside, my heart pounding, I felt like a character in a cheap detective novel. After what seemed like an eternity, she emerged, accompanied by the same man from the cafe. I confronted her the next morning. "I saw you last night, Lily." "With him." "Who is he?" Lily's face crumpled, and she finally broke down. "His name is Edward. He's been helping me invest in some stocks." "It's nothing more, I swear." "Stocks?" "Lily, are you sure that's all it is?" "Yes, Alexander, that's all it is. I was trying to make extra money for us, for the family." I wanted to believe her, but the seeds of doubt had already been sown. The revelation about Edward led me to make my own investigations. A friend of mine, CJ, was well-versed in the local business scene. Over a coffee, I prodded him for information. "Edward? Huh? Yeah, I know him. Sharp businessman. But be careful, Alex. He's got a reputation for being a bit of a shark," CJ warned, sipping his coffee. "A shark?" "Yeah, he's been involved in some shady deals. Nothing proven, but rumors abound." I left the meeting with CJ feeling more confused and troubled than before. The man my wife was associating with was a potential fraudster, and she was naively walking into a trap, or worse, part of something illegal. I confronted Lily again. "CJ told me about Edward. He's not who you think he is." Lily looked stunned. "What do you mean?" He's involved in shady business, Lily. You could be getting yourself into trouble. I don't believe that, Alexander. He's been nothing but helpful and kind to me. Kind? Lily, you're playing with fire. Our conversations became circular, accusations and defenses spinning a web of confusion and anger. In the midst of this, the boys became increasingly distant. Adam buried himself deeper in his books, and Lucas spent more time out of the house, his whereabouts often unknown. One evening, as I sat pondering the mess my life had become, Adam approached me. Dad, can I talk to you? Of course, son. What's up? I overheard you and Mom talking about Edward. I think I can help. Help? How? I've been learning about stock trading and hacking. Maybe I can find out more about him, see if he's really up to no good. I was torn. On the one hand, I wanted to protect my son from this mess. On the other, I was desperate for answers. Okay, but be careful, Adam. We don't know what we're dealing with here. Adam nodded, a determined look in his eyes. The days that followed were a mix of hope and apprehension. Adam spent hours on his computer, digging into Edward's dealings, while I watched Lily, torn between love and suspicion. Then, one evening, Adam called me to his room. Dad, you need to see this. He showed me his screen, filled with figures and names, all pointing to one conclusion. Edward was involved in insider trading. Lily's been caught up in something dangerous, Adam. We need to confront her. Armed with this new information, I confronted Lily. Edward's a fraud, Lily. Adam found evidence of insider trading. Lily's face went pale. No, that can't be true. It is, Lily. You've been used in a scheme. The confrontation was heated, Lily's denials clashing with the hard evidence Adam had uncovered. The family that once was a haven of love and understanding now felt like a battleground, each of us entrenched in our own version of the truth. As I lay in bed that night, the weight of my family's troubles heavy on my chest, I realized that the simple life I once knew was gone. In its place was a complex web of lies, mistrust, and danger, and I, Alexander, was at its very heart. The early morning sun barely pierced the curtains of our Californian home, casting a dim light on the chaos that had become my life. As Alexander, once a simple man leading a simple life, I now found myself at the heart of a maelstrom. The revelation of Edward's dubious dealings and Lily's unwitting involvement weighed heavily on me. Breakfast was a silent affair. The boys, sensing the thick tension, ate quietly. I couldn't shake the image of Lily, entangled in a web of deceit, possibly without even realizing it. After breakfast, I approached her. Lily, we need to talk. About Edward and about us. She looked up, weary. I know. I've been thinking too. I sighed, a mix of frustration and relief. I talked to Adam. He's found evidence of insider trading. Lily, you could be in real trouble. Lily's face paled. I had no idea, Alexander. I just wanted to help. I knew I had to make a decision. We need to go to the authorities. It's the only way to protect ourselves. Lily nodded, her eyes brimming with unspoken fears. The visit to the police station was a blur. We explained everything, from Lily's meetings with Edward to Adam's findings. The officers were sympathetic but warned us of the potential implications. Returning home, I found Lucas waiting, his expression a mix of anger and confusion. Dad, what's happening? Is Mom in trouble? I sat him down, explaining the situation as gently as I could. Your mom got involved with someone who might be a criminal. We're trying to sort it out. Lucas's face hardened. I can't believe this is happening. Adam joined us, his usual calm demeanor replaced by a sense of urgency. Dad, there's more. I've been tracking some of Edward's transactions. It's bigger than we thought. The revelation hit me like a ton of bricks. The situation was spiraling out of control, ensnaring my family in a dangerous game. The following days were a relentless storm of meetings with lawyers and police officers. Lily was distraught, the guilt of her actions consuming her. I, too, was racked with guilt, for not seeing the signs earlier, for not protecting my family. In the midst of this chaos, I received a call from CJ. Alex, you need to see this. He sent me a news article. Edward had been arrested, his fraudulent activities exposed. Relief washed over me, followed quickly by anxiety. What does this mean for Lily? I wondered aloud. It means she might be off the hook. She was an unwitting participant, CJ replied, his voice cautious. I shared the news with Lily, who broke down in tears. I'm so sorry, Alexander. I never meant for any of this to happen. I held her, the resentment I had felt melting away. We'll get through this together. The ordeal brought our family closer. The boys, seeing their parents united in adversity, rallied around us. Lucas, who had been distant, started opening up more, and Adam, always the quiet one, became a pillar of strength. As the legal proceedings against Edward continued, our family began to heal. Lily, cleared of any wrongdoing, became more involved with the community, channeling her energies into positive work. I found solace in my writing, documenting our journey as a way to make sense of it all. One evening, as we sat in the living room, a sense of peace descended upon us. The boys were laughing at some joke, Lily was knitting, and I was jotting down thoughts in my notebook. I looked around, a sense of gratitude filling me. We had weathered the storm, emerging stronger and more united. Our life, once a simple script, had taken a dramatic turn, but it had brought us to a place of deeper understanding and love. As I retired to bed that night, the events of the past few weeks replayed in my mind. The challenges had been daunting, but they had brought about resolutions and new beginnings. Our story was far from over, but I, Alexander, knew that whatever the future held, we would face it together as a family.